this. All right, so we're playing around with squares, factors, and rectangles. And stop sharing. And let's check out my other camera. Hopefully this works. All right, so hopefully you should see a piece of paper I have on my desk, and I've got some squares. So these are called color tiles. The ones I have here are some kind of plastic. They come in multiple colors, and I have a big bag of these, and these are common in elementary schools as math toys for kids to play with. And we have been using computerized versions of math toys in the previous quarter, and I didn't often or at all show you the physical ones. So I'm going to try more often this quarter to break out my physical versions of these toys and then switch to the virtual ones online. So I can take these 4 squares and I can make a new rectangle that is 2 by 2 out of them. So that's one rectangle I can make. And a square is a rectangle, by the way. I could make a 4 by 1 rectangle out of those 4 squares, or I could make a 1 by 4 rectangle out of those. And some kids are going to like using all the same color. Other kids might like to use all different colors and have some fun with it. And some kids are just going to be totally distracted and make all kinds of weird stuff happen with their squares. So that's always an interesting thing. But I think it's totally worth it. Just think about this, right? We are lucky enough to have sight, right? And we interact with our world by looking around and touching things and doing stuff. And there's a lot of evidence that when we get physical, visually doing stuff, that we learn better. So having students use some toys to learn mathematics could be super helpful. And so you could decide whether kids need to have a single color or multiple colors. Okay. So let's switch back to my other screen. So what I want to do is, given the 4 squares, I want to make a note of the arrangements that I could come up with. And so if I list them in order from, in terms of the base, I could make a 1 by 4, a 2 by 2, or a 4 by 1. And I did that in my table. So what I'd like you to do is on paper, or you could copy and paste this into a Google Doc if you want, for each of the number of squares in the first column, figure out how many different rectangles you can make, list them, and then put how many there are. So for example, for 8, let's get my Google Doc up here, I was able to make a 1 by 8, and I'm using the X to multiply. You could use an asterisk, it's not a huge deal. What else did I do? I did a 2 by 4. I did a 4 by 2, and then I did a 1 by 8. So there were 4 different ways I could make that happen. So what I need you to do is to complete this table here on paper or on a computer, your call, whichever one you want to do. And once that's completed, we're going to answer some questions based on that. So in the list of numbers above, what made only 1 rectangle? List the numbers that made only 2 rectangles, the numbers that made more than 2 rectangles, the numbers that made an odd number of rectangles. We're going to then rebuild a similar table where we list the factors of those numbers and the number of factors. So I did that back here in my notes. After I made my different rectangles here, I made a note that 8 has factors of 1, 2, 4, and 8. 8 had 4 factors. Okay? I could also make 4 rectangles. Is that a coincidence? And then there's going to be some questions that we're going to answer after that. Like, let's look at 24. Without actually whipping out 24 blocks, 24 squares, can we list the factors of 4? Can we state a factorization of 4? Can we state a prime factorization? Now, I haven't gone over factorizations and prime factorizations, but you may remember them. I will go over them in more detail next class. So let's get started on this right now. So I'm going to put you in breakout rooms for a few minutes to start doing this on your own and then double checking answers with each other. So going to make a few groups here with 3 people per group. So as soon as that breakout room opens, jump in there and start talking to your classmates. And I'll call you back in a few minutes. Hey, Michaela, are you able to join the breakout room? Hey, Amanda. How's it going? Let's see, I can't hear anything.
How about now?
I hear something now. What's up?
Okay. I don't know. There was nobody in that